Have you been questioning if this is all there is? If the quiet, the sense of disconnection, the strange yearnings pulling you from your former life mean you're lost or found? You rise each morning feeling distant from the things you once pursued. Conversations ring empty. Goals that once blazed with purpose now feel alien. There's an ache not tied to one specific thing, but a deep knowing that something must shift. Yet, what if this ache isn't a sign of being lost, but an invitation? What if this feeling isn't an ending, but a beginning? Carl Jung taught that the soul rarely travels in straight paths. It speaks through paradox, tension, and dreams. Its voice a whisper, easily ignored. This video is for that part of you that's listening, the part weary of the world's clamor, yet craving something authentic. If you're feeling lost, uncertain, detached, or drawn to something unnamed, you might not be off course. You might be hearing your soul at last. Here are the signs. If they resonate, keep moving forward. You're on the right path. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he cautioned that this becoming is rarely smooth. The inward journey, the path of individuation, often starts with silence, detachment, or collapse. The ego resists, craving plans, certainty, a clear map. But the soul moves differently, through intuition, symbols, and subtle emotional tides. When old ambitions fade, when the mirror of your past no longer reflects you, it doesn't mean failure. It means you've outgrown a version of yourself that was too small. In Jungian psychology, the self, the deeper whole blueprint within, begins its quiet revolution by dismantling what's false. First the masks, then the roles, then the stories that once defined you. It feels disorienting, because it is. Yet, in this unraveling, something ancient stirs, something true. You're not breaking apart. You're being refined. These signs aren't proof you're lost. They're evidence something sacred is unfolding. A hidden compass now points inward, toward integration, alignment, toward the part of you that's always known. Let's explore these signs and why they're not random. They're a language, a map only the soul can read. Sign 1. The path begins in discomfort. It doesn't start with clarity, but with unease. You wake up, and something feels off. Not broken, just misaligned. The job that once gave structure now feels like a trap. Conversations that once soothed feel shallow. Even your reflection seems unfamiliar. You can't pinpoint what shifted because it's not one thing. It's everything, quietly, realigning. Jung called this enantiodromia, the soul's way of correcting imbalance by swinging toward the opposite. If you've spent too long chasing external validation, people-pleasing, or pretending, your soul rebels, not with anger, but with silence. A quiet, aching hollowness replaces the fire that once burned. This isn't a failure of direction, it's the start of a deeper one. Your psyche has sensed the life you built no longer fits the person you're becoming. So it begins to dismantle. The goals, habits, desires unravel, not to punish, but to prepare. This discomfort isn't a dead end. It's a doorway, because it leads inward, not outward. It's often overlooked. Many turn back here, numbing the ache, calling it a phase, clinging to the familiar. But if you resist escaping and listen, you'll hear it. A whisper beneath the noise, urging, keep going. Let what's crumbling fall. What's coming needs space. Discomfort becomes your guide. Not all pain is punishment. Some is prophecy. The emptiness you feel isn't absence, it's preparation, a hollow space where truth will soon root. Sign 2. You're pulled away from what once defined you. Discomfort shakes the foundation, but it doesn't stop there. Soon, you feel drawn away from the roles that once shaped you. The achiever, the caretaker, the good one, the strong one. They no longer fit. They feel like borrowed clothes from a past life. You move through your days detached, performing motions that no longer stir your soul, though you try to keep up the act. Something resists. This isn't laziness or failure. It's an inner shift. Jung taught that the ego must eventually yield to the self, the deeper essence of who you are. When this begins, the external roles upholding your identity start to fray. The ego clings to structure, certainty, but the self whispers, "Who are you without these masks, without the applause, the expectations, the old definitions?" It's not a breakdown. It's a breaking open, a quiet blooming you feel in your bones. You lose interest in what once consumed you. You pull back from people whose energy feels heavy or false. Silence becomes nourishing. Old dreams no longer call. You may grieve your former self, not because it was false, but because it's complete. This letting go doesn't bring immediate answers, only space, sacred space, not emptiness, but potential. It's the fertile ground where your true self begins to emerge. If your identity feels like it's softening, dissolving, making less sense, that's not regression. It's the path unfolding. Trust the unraveling. What's falling away was never your final truth, just scaffolding for what's now rising. Don't cling to the familiar just because it's safe. Keep walking. Something deeper is emerging. Sign 3. The outer world no longer mirrors the inner. As you shed roles that no longer serve, caretaker, achiever, peacemaker, you see the world differently. Yet, here's the paradox. While your inner world expands, the outer world feels stuck. You're surrounded by people, yet feel unseen. You smile, perform, but there's a detachment, like watching your life through glass. This isn't depression or failure. It's a soul shift. Jung spoke of the fracture when the unconscious emerges, creating symbolic dissonance. The external world no longer reflects the internal. You grow more intuitive, attuned to emotions, drawn to silence, symbols, stories. You notice what others overlook. Glances that don't match words, dreams that linger. Your body's reactions before your mind catches up. Yet, your environment doesn't reflect this. Conversations feel flat. Your job hollow. Relationships like echoes of a past self. It's tempting to think something's wrong, to doubt your sensitivity or choices. But Jung would say this tension is sacred, necessary. The outer world must lose its grip for the inner self to emerge. If things still felt right, you'd have no reason to change. The discomfort, the in-between, proves you're growing. Let it be quiet. Let the disconnect soften you. This isn't the end, it's the pause before a new chapter. You're not meant to adapt anymore. You're meant to align. If the world feels out of sync, don't flee. Listen to what your soul says in the silence, the gap, the loneliness. That's where your true life takes shape. Keep going. Sign 4. You're guided by something unexplainable. Once the outer world stops mirroring your inner depth, something quieter takes the lead. You no longer push or demand clarity as before. Instead, you follow a whisper, not a voice, but a sensation, a magnetic pull beneath the noise. It defies logic, yet feels truer than anything. Jung described this as moving beyond the ego into alignment with the self. When archetypes awaken, you walk by inner vision, not sight. The path isn't laid out in goals or plans. It's revealed in moments of resonance, a conversation, a book, a sudden urge to turn left instead of right. You've entered symbolic living, uncertain and unmoored. The old identity is gone, the outer world hollow, yet nothing tangible replaces it. But in the stillness, a new rhythm emerges. You light a candle instinctively, journal for companionship with your soul, crave silence, nature, ritual.